I'm Dr. P.N. Nemade, Director, Atharva College of Engineering. I would like to welcome all the participants for the special webinar series organized by Atharva College of Engineering Innovation Cell on the topic Startup and Patent Registration. This is the best platform providing by Atharva College of Engineering team of the ICEL, and I'm sure the participants and the members who are actively involved in startups and patent registration will be beneficial from the output of this webinar series. Wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, academicians, faculty members, students, and all participants, good evening to all present here. I, Samuel Jacob, Vice Principal Technical, on behalf of ICEL of Atharva College of Engineering, warmly welcome all of you to this second day of Startup Life Cycle and Patent Registration webinar series. Yesterday evening, we had a great experience on eye-opening sessions of entrepreneurs who have actually converted their undergraduate projects into commercial ventures, the various pitfalls that came into their way while on the journey of entrepreneurship, and what steps were taken to overcome them. And over the years and over the span of time, the problems in terms of copy acts that have come into play when innovative entrepreneurs mature, and how they are overcome from an entrepreneur's standpoint, and also the life cycle of an entrepreneur from the conception of a startup idea to its nurturing, the team members, the registration, the nurturing it up, and the market play, and studying the market, and surviving in the market, and registering the company, following the rules and policies, right up to the challenges of being able to grow on the entrepreneurship front. We've been able to see all of this from an entrepreneur's standpoint in terms of its experiences. It was worth listening to, an eye-opener for all of us. Today, the second day, we're going to dwell upon another important topic, which is nothing but protection of our property rights, or IPR, or intellectual property rights. You would rather be covering what do we mean by IPR? Why do we need to protect our innovative ideas? Which are the projects that can be converted into innovative projects? How do we identify whether our projects have got innovative content in them? And if they do have innovative content in them, how feasible it is to protect them and file for a protection of these innovative ideas? And what are the processes that go into filing a patent and a protection right over the innovative ideas that we are nurturing up? And what are the policies that go into it? What are the steps that need to be followed? What do we mean by a trademark? What do we mean by a copyright? These are the topics that would be dwelt upon in depth in today's sessions by eminent speakers from across the world who have been having expertise and experience in their respective domains, ranging from mechanical engineering to biomedical sciences to interdisciplinary approach to patenting in courts of law and writing patents disclosures in courts of law for various clients. These things will be covered upon today. We have eminent speakers who will be covering upon these topics to give us more insight that we may be better equipped to protect our ideas and innovations in this journey of innovative life cycle, and how do we go about protecting our property, which is our own property in terms of innovations. These are the topics that we will be covering today. I warmly welcome one and all to this second day of our series on patenting. Warm welcome to each one.
Good evening, everyone. You cannot discover new oceans unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. Yes, the journey of innovation and startup might look daunting and intimidating for many, but there are few who choose to lose sight of the oceans, their comfort zones, and trade this challenging path. When we talk about innovation or a novel idea, the question of patent comes along with it immediately. Intellectual property rights plays a vital role in enhancing the economic growth of the country, and it also fosters creativity, inventions, and innovations, which are the new drivers of the world economy. It is also a key driver for building and sustaining competitive advantage and achieving superior performance for business organizations. In this era of globalization, it is important to know the role that IP systems play in the growth of a nation. Academic institutions play a major role to create an environment which promotes knowledge about protection and management of IPRs among students and faculty members, and to inculcate in them this culture of working on project, identify the IP, and work towards IP. In all this journey, the role of a mentor is very important to make the entire process successful. And taking this into account, Atharva College of Engineering has established its IPR cell and is working to encourage, advise, and guide the students and faculty members on the importance of IPR, how to obtain and sustain patents, and help them approach the Patent Information Center and to carry out patentable research. And in alignment with this work, we conduct IP awareness workshop every year. In 2019, the Innovation Cell of Atharva College of Engineering had organized IP workshop and Idea Master competition on 26th and 27th of September 2019. The objective of the event was to foster a culture of innovation and IPR amongst the budding engineers. Till date, we have total 6 patents to our credit, few are in process, and we are striving to get more. I hope you all have enjoyed and gained valuable information and insights in previous sessions and will enjoy the upcoming session too. Thank you.
Engineering is an ever-evolving field that has benefited the progress of society. In the 21st century, electronics industry has made a tremendous impact on our lives. Electronic gadgets have become an integral part of our lifestyle. In today's fast-changing world, a new generation of electronics engineers needs to be developed to provide environment-friendly solutions to the challenges faced due to limited resources. On this occasion of webinar on startup lifecycle and patent registration, I would like to share a case study of one of our ex-student of Department of Electronics Engineering and alumni of Atharva College of Engineering, Mr. Vinod Mandowkar. Unlike every student, Vinod was active in extracurricular activities and was keenly interested in doing something for the society. Vinod was one of the sincerest and obedient students of our department and took active participation in all the workshops, webinars and various activities organized by Innovation Cell in regards to innovations, startups and patents. As a result of which he was motivated to do something different and he decided to have his own startup. I am glad that Vinod is a founder of Wintech Solutions, which provides complete development solutions for embedded hardware, software, event engagement activities, experimental marketing, prototyping, 3D printing, and customized product development. To serve and safeguard the society during this pandemic situation, Vinod's startup came up with a solution of automatic hand sanitizer dispenser, wherein the dispenser can automatically dispense the required amount of sanitizer as a human being places his palm under it, and the solution can be implemented at all residential and commercial premises. Such innovative ideas and solutions for solving the problem of society are highly appreciated, especially to come up with during the situation of pandemic. Department of Electronics Engineering welcomes all such brilliant minds to nurture their ideas and convert it into startups. Recently, one of the faculty member of department has filed a patent on neural logic and is working on filing of next patent. The department is always ready to receive valuable inputs to aid us to propagate and hence is open to all stakeholders to be a part of our growth.
Indeed, it was a knowledge-enriching session. A fluent and lucid talk it was. We are really obliged for your time and painstaking effort. Thank you for the knowledge-enriched session.
Innovation is the only way to win. When Steve Jobs said this in his famous 2005 commencement speech at Stanford, little did we know that it is soon going to be reframed in reality almost 15 years later. Innovation now has become the only way to thrive, survive, and live. But with the plethora of successful examples who dare to take up their innovative ideas forward, we can say that there are no dreams too large, no innovation unimaginable, and no frontiers beyond our reach. With that, we begin the first session of Day 2 with an eminent resource person. It is indeed my privilege to introduce Dr. Matthew P. Matthew, who is an Associate Professor at UIC Bioengineering and Cedric W. Blazer Endowed Professor at University of Illinois College of Medicine, Rockford. Dr. Matthew's major research focus is in the area of simulation of human artificial joints, biomechanics, and tribocorrosion of implanted biomaterials used in dentistry and orthopedics. Dr. Matthew and his group are actively involved in developing new diagnostic tools for detecting implant-derived circulating metal ions in the blood of patients who received metal implants. He is leading the Regenerative Medicine and Disability Research Lab within the Department of Biomedical Sciences at the University of Illinois College of Medicine, Rockford. Dr. Matthew also holds a faculty appointment at the College of Dentistry and Department of Bioengineering, University of Illinois, Chicago, and Department of Orthopedic Surgery, Rush University Medical Center, Chicago. Dr. Matthew developed graduate-level courses for the Master of Science in Medical Biotechnology program in Rockford and bioengineering PhD students. His research is supported by NIH, NSF, and research foundations. He is the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Bio and Tribocorrosion by Springer and was instrumental in initiating an international research institute called Institute of Biomaterials, Tribocorrosion, and Nanomedicine, which is a joint venture between University of Illinois and UNESP Brazil. Without further ado, I request Dr. Matthew to take over the session.
Greetings from Chicago, USA. I would like to give a talk and my experience in disclosures and patents. My name is Matthew. I currently work at Department of Biomedical Science, University of Illinois School of Medicine at Rockford, which is very near to Chicago, around 80 miles from, in fact, Chicago. I would like to thank you for the opportunity from Atharva College of Engineering. I believe that this is very important step for students and academic community. Let me start with one of my childhood story. When I was at the age of 5 or 6, my sister gave me a responsibility to take care of a plant, and she always asked me how the plant is growing. And I had a habit of checking how the root is developing. So once in a week, I take out of the ground and look at, as you know, what happened to the plant. Of course, curiosity is important step of research and any type of invention. Let me go back to my training and my research career. My basic engineering degree is in mechanical engineering from Calicut University, Kerala, India. In 1996, then I was working in a company for some time, and then I did my master's in maintenance engineering from Visvesvaraya Technological University in India. Then I was teaching in one of the college, and then I went again for PhD in mechanical engineering from Strathclyde University, Glasgow. Then I was doing my postdoc experience from University of Mino and Rush University Medical Center in Chicago. I know my audience will be from different, starting from undergraduate to faculty or professors. I just want to highlight your professional experience is very key in developing any patents or inventions. As a student, as a lecturer, as an instructor, we are learning so many steps in the lab scale and interaction with the students and other colleagues, and writing a grant and developing a course, also mentoring and teaching experience that will lead us to sharpen our skill in developing new ideas and new thoughts that leads to patents. I also thank to my mentors, Dr. Srinivasa Pai from Mangalore. He was my first mentor, and also my PhD mentor, Professor Margaret Stack, Professor Luis Rocha, my postdoc mentor, and second postdoc mentor is Dr. Marcus Wimmer. They are all contributed to my my learning process and whatever I am sharing today. As I mentioned about curiosity, that leads to in my life uh, about more on human joints. As a mechanical engineer, I was thinking, or I am considering our joints as a mechanical system. When we walk or when we run, our knee joint or hip joint, our spine needs to move, and at the same time, it also keep our body stable. It's very interesting to see how the joints are connected together um, as a engineering system. My all research based on joints, and if the joints are failing, we have to develop any engineering devices. So my focus is on hip devices. Uh, as you can see in this slide, currently around 300,000 hip implants are or hip implant surgeries are happening in US. By 2030, it may increase to 500,000. One of the problem with these devices are that when you walk and when you do your activity, the two metals or two surfaces are interacting each other, so it can fail. And also that is known as tribology. And in some cases, they use metals because of corrosion, it also get failed. So in my study, or my focus area is known as biotribocorrosion, where I can study more on how these implants are failing and how can we minimize this fail, and also how can we minimize any side effects on the patients. I don't want to talk more about this area. Now, these medical devices, not only in hip, but also in many other joints. For example, dental implants, we are using around 3 million dental implants every year. Spine implants, also very common now, knee devices, and all these devices are mainly metal alloys or polymers are commonly used. My main research lab and my teaching is located at UIC School of Medicine at Rockford. This campus is established in 1972. They have a biomedical science department, lot of research in cancer, immunology, vaccine development, and bioengineering is going on in this area. I'm also associated with Rush Orthopedics, where a lot of hip surgeries, knee surgeries are happening. Because of this association with the dental school in UIC, in handling these dental devices and TMJ devices. So let me go to my research lab. This research lab called Disability Research Group. This was supported by a family called Blazer family. You can see in this slide, 2015, this lab has been opened by the Blazer family. Cedric Blazer, they supported this lab in the University of Illinois College of Medicine. Our lab is focusing on bioengineering, clinical research, nanomedicine, and biotechnology. Bioengineering is my main area. Of course, we want to connect with the clinical research, retrieval study, diagnostics, and new treatment methods, biotechnology, biocompatibility, toxicity studies, and nanomedicine, where nanoparticle generation, drug delivery is also covered. My lab members, Dr. Bij Kumar and Dr. Bade, they are close associated with my research group. Dr. Vijaykumar, we started a new lab called Nano Lab, which is very recently in 2019, which is supported by the Blazer family again, and that is under development. This lab, we are focusing on toxicology development and nano drug development and tissue engineering focus. So I will talk more about some of the research in later on. So let us go to our focus area today, today's talk, how the new ideas converted to patents. I believe in any research, new ideas are like a big fish you get out of fishing in a sea. When you do research, the new ideas, you get it, and then that can be an invention, that can be a discovery. As a researcher, it is your responsibility to disclose these ideas and then move it to patent. So let us go to details about this today. I know that after me, there are many experts are talking about different aspects, but my talk is very basics about disclosure and patents, and I have very limited knowledge in this area. So University of Illinois, we have a very large group of office which called OTM, Office of Technological Management, that helps us in terms of protecting our intellectual property and disclosure processes and patents. We can see here a research from that innovation coming up, and then how that can be converted to patents, copyright, and then how to start a company. At the same time, this all supported by licensing, revenue generation, and marketing, and that's the way your new idea is converted to a product or a new company. So we may wonder, what is a disclosure? Any public disclosure is any oral or written communication to others that is not confidential and either teaches or the invention completely or provides enough information to make development of an invention obvious. So suppose you have an idea, you disclose it so that you are the first person who brought that idea. So once you disclose, it is you have a right to protect that, and other than any other person in this world. In the most of the cases, including US, the first inventor to file disclosure patent application is entitled to the patent right. So what is a patent? A patent is the granting of a property right by sovereign authority to an inventor. So the government and legal office giving right to a researcher on his intellectual merit or intellectual property. Remember, the patent provides inventor exclusive right to the patented processes or design or invention for a certain period in exchange for a complete disclosure of the invention. Then there is a lot of concern like whether it is patentable or not, which is need to be discussed, and I'm not going to cover that area. Of course, there are so many terms in this process, inventions and patents. Let me cover some facts. An invention is a device or method or composition or process made by a man, as long as it is new, useful, and not obvious. Remember, the inventor is one who alone or together with others conceived the ultimate working invention. Once you are in any organization, although you are the one who considered to be an inventor, but ownership of that is that organization. For example, since I am in UIC, University of Illinois Board of Directors are owners of any intellectual work which I am doing. A patent is property like a house. Suppose you have a house, you can rent it, you can lease it. So it is like you develop, it is your property. You have a total right, and commercialization, everything you can do. So patent is, by having a patent, you are getting a right to use your property wisely. A patent owner can decide how to allow others to use his or her property. So patent process is very important actually in your career and to develop a company or to convert your new idea to a product. As I said, Office of Technological Management has a big role in any organization. For example, as you see in this diagram, faculty interaction with OTM for evaluation, protection, marketing, and licensing. OTM also interacting with research office for grants and contracts and industry agreement. Also, they are the people who guide us connecting with existing companies about our patent. Also helping us to have a startup, and they also associated with other organizations which assist in this process. Essentially, OTM helping us or giving us an opportunity or like a bridge to convert our ideas or our intellectual property to a product or a process or licensing to a company. In this slide, you can see OTM functions more details. So in my experience, if I have a new idea, the first thing I was advised to do is to disclose my invention. So I will submit a disclosure to OTM. OTM first stage is screening, and they do the assessment of my idea. So that may take usually 1 month to 2 months, and they check existing patent and they decide whether it is patentable or not. Then they also assist in marketing, licensing, and academic research use distribution and open source licensing, and also connecting this with patenting organizations and return, what will be the return to the inventor and also to the organization. OTM experts also have legal connections, and they review our inventions or research ideas very closely. In US, the patent application process is a very long process. As you can see here, after disclosure, if your OTM is considered that this is patentable, so your first US application is first point, so that has allowed period of 1 year, and then it will be continued like 18 months, where patent application typically published. Then you have a 12 to 36 months first office action you can receive from patent office. Then you have a 2 to 4 years where patent may issue. So this all can vary, and you have some sort of time lag between. It's like a rough estimation. Then you have a 30 months, and finally it can be up to 10 years. International, there are some differences, but the timelines are almost very similar. As you can see here, patent application process is very time consuming process, so it takes long time. But as a researcher, it's my job to disclose my idea, because once you disclose before any publication or when you present before people, once you disclose your idea, nobody can, even if other people find out, but you have a right to protect your intellectual merit. So disclosing is a first step you have to do. After patent, what will happen? So I just cover very basics about what in a research scale, what we are planning to do, or what are we advised to do. Of course, like any startup companies start with a business plan. And remember, once you have a patent, even if it's licensing to other company, the revenue sharing is very interesting. For example, 40% to university, 40% inventor, and 20% to the inventor's department. I would like to say something here from our own experience. At UIC, we had a researcher in 1992. He invented a vaccine against shingles, and it took like long time, although he had a patent, but only 5 years ago or 6 years ago, one of the medical or pharmaceutical company was interested in his vaccine, and now it become like so popular. It covered like around 90% of the market, which brought like around $4 million income to the university. So it's like around 25-30 years a inventor has to wait to get some revenue. So this is like a story which I recently heard from our colleagues or from our department. Of course, start with idea, planning, teamwork, investment, trend, resources, strategy leads to product. I'm sure some of my other speakers will talk more about the details about startup. How to get funding as a researcher, that is one of the main challenge. So one of the, in US, main funding agency was NIH or NSF. They have a special grant called SBIR or STTR. SBIR is more for university researchers. STTR is in collaboration with the company. So company is applying that. Only condition is the university employees should have some position in that company. So there are like some conditions in both grant, but they provide funding. For example, they have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1, you have to submit a proposal and evaluation, and phase 1 award up to 250 to 500K, and then you have a higher amount in later stage. But it is very successful compared to regular research grant. Marketing processes, which was advised by OTM, they have like 5C concept: customers, company, competitors, collaborators, contest, creating value by having market and target and product and service positioning. Of course, like capturing value, sustaining value, all this very important to lead to the customer acquisition and customer retention, and eventually to the profit. So once the company or once the product is in the market, it is like a cycle process to keep your product with high value in the market. Startup, any type of ventures, the OTM has several help, like research to the market. You can see in different pathways here. The blue path shows POC funding is a proof of concept funding, and then that will leads to market or product or revenue. But there are some places where we have to collaborate, and other innovation mandate should be involved. In some cases we have SBIR. So depends on the product, depends on the market, all these paths could be changed. There are so many online resources available or provided by university to the researchers to go through and learn, and that gives a great support to move forward. I believe that whoever listening in my audience, suppose you are associated with any university or campus, there will be some mentors for you to guide you. This is very important because you need to get clear guidance in this process, how to protect your idea, how to market your idea, and also learn from experience. That's one of the reasons I put my mentors in the beginning, because mentors are key role in your development. An example of from my recent experience with the disclosure. So once you have a new idea, you have to disclose this. This is a disclosure form by University of Illinois. The title of discovery, this was a invention where we found a protein or vitamin E complex to inhibit corrosion processes in a hip implant. And we have to explain why this invention is important, and also brief description of the problem and brief description of the benefit associated with the invention. And then there are some other details about funding, and also I submitted an abstract for a conference in 2019. So I need to disclose this before I present in that conference. There are my other mentors or other inventors should be added, and also there are some other details which I have to provide to my OTM agency. So once you complete that, OTM experts will do market and commercialization analysis. You can see here they did a very detailed study, and they evaluate whether this idea is already patented or whether it is patentable or not. There are so many data it is presented here. I don't want to go very details, but it depends on how and what is the product and what is the process you are patenting. Of course, like market and commercial analysis also provide market value and value of propositions, and also what are the other available in the market. An intellectual property analysis, they also is it protectable, or what are the enforceability issue identified. They have a very detailed analysis. Finally, they provide an executive summary about this disclosure and what is the next step we have to take as an inventor. And they also provide a table of market and commercialization analysis with very detail about any other universities or other inventor have a patent on this. What is the difference between this patent and other patent? This all we need to have a continuous meetings and discussion with our OTM and legal people. Also, they provide a database from different search engines like Google Scholar, Google Patent, PubMed, Innography, and they do very thorough analysis about your idea. And they provide you funding and ownership, and also they provide you executive summary, what actions you have to take based on their suggestions. So you can see here OTM's role, and as a researcher, why and how it is so important to disclose to the OTM. Earlier in my beginning of my career, I was also not very enthusiastic to submit disclosure. But now I know if I'm not submitting my disclosure, then I am losing the idea. And this is also a process. You are learning a lot during this process. I have other patents. One of the patents which I have is developing a biosensor to detect metal ion release from orthopedic patients. You can see here, which is have a patent from 2014. This is like electronics and biosensor development. I know some of the colleagues are Department of Electronics. You may appreciate the clinical application of electronics into several areas in orthopedics, dentistry, etc. This is also a collaboration with Dr. Prasad in University of Texas in Dallas. I have other disclosures. Disclosure one is a root canal treatment for total disinfection. As you know, root canal is a very common process in dentistry or dental health care. During this process, they have to eradicate all the bacteria in the root canal. But in some cases, they cannot do it because of irregular shapes in the root canal. So we proposed when we use this root canal treatment, we apply a small voltage by which you can kill all the bacteria in the system. So we have a disclosure on this. We recently got a proof of concept award. Actually, this week we are progressing on that. Another disclosure I had is smart drug delivery for retinopathy. This is a collaboration with Dr. Biju Kumar in my lab. She is expert in drug delivery, etc. So retinal diabetic retinopathy is a situation where your vision is completely blind situation, where because of the blood bleeding inside the retinopathy. So in that situation leads to a clinical management where bi-weekly you have to do an injection. So what we proposed is a new polymer and system where you can have a sustainable drug delivery to avoid repeated injection and associated adverse effect. So by having this injection into, and then this nano polymer or smart polymer, they deliver this drug in a sustainable manner. So you can avoid biweekly injection, maybe once in 6 months. So that is a great help for people who have diabetic retinopathy. Another disclosure I had is urine-based biosensor for breast cancer detection. This is also under development. What we are in this case, we found that some of the protein is highly expressed in breast cancer patients. So we developed sort of a electrochemically based sensors for detecting this biomarker. This will give a early indication of any breast cancer possibilities. So this is also one of the advantages, very low cost compared to traditional methods. Also, it is a patient driven. We can do at home. So in the summary of my talk, I shared my own experience. As I mentioned, disclosure and patents as a researcher is very important aspects. Remember, when you get a new idea, it's like a big fish you get out of sea. So you need to identify that fish and you have to protect, because that is, you don't get always. It's like something very special. And challenges in identifying innovation. Disclosure timing is very important. You have to disclose as soon as possible. Otherwise, like, you lose the opportunity. One of the very important step is working with technology management offices, maybe in your campus or in your company. They are the people, they give you very wise advices. I also want to highlight that you should be passionate about your idea and your research. Otherwise, like, you are the inventor, you are the driver there, you are the person to lead this research or this idea. So people are looking at you. So you should be passionate. Another challenge is fundraising, identifying key partners. So suppose you have a research idea, but you need to have a good partner. For example, I am in a hospital. If I'm an engineer, but if any type of clinical management, I need to get a clinicians on board. So clinicians, they know what is the need of the clinical setting, so they can guide you. They can they increase the value of your processes. Always collaboration. Collaboration is so a key point, and also willing to learn and explore. It's always a challenging process, so you should be willing to learn every day, working with other people. I want to thank my mentors and also my collaborators at Rush University Medical Center, particularly with orthopedic research. Also, I have a collaboration with dental school and other colleagues in College of Engineering. We had a institute called IBTN, Institute of Biomaterials, Tribocorrosion and Nanomedicine, which we started in 2012. We have several students members, and we have right now based on in Chicago. If anybody is interested to join this group, you are always welcome. This is like a professional society. We had an annual meeting. This is from one of the old annual meeting. There is not very huge number, but lot of discussions and international collaborations. I also thank my students. As you know, without students, our research will not progress. I thank all my students who are contributed to different inventions and their contribution to research. I also thank my financial support, NIH, NSF, and some of the companies and professional organizations, and also Blazer Foundation in our lab. I also thank Professor Samuel Jacob from Atharva. He is my good friend, and we always keep in touch. And he's the one who gave me this opportunity to have this presentation. And I want to challenge all the students who are scientists and research mind by a word from Donald Rumsfeld. There are things we know that we know. There are known unknowns. That is to say, there are things that we know that we don't know. But there are also unknown unknowns. There are things we do not know and we don't know. So many things are unknowns, right? So there are so many things, so many inventions, so many patents are still coming on the way. I also want to challenge with a word from William Pollard. The arrogance of success is to think that what you did yesterday will be sufficient for tomorrow. Always new things are needed. Always new ways needed to support tomorrow's generation. So as this all meeting is very timely to move forward and challenge students and academic community. Thank you so much for your listening, and any questions, you are always free to contact me, and thank you for all this opportunity.
Thank you so much for your words, sir. I am positive that our participants who are joining us from different parts of the country must have benefited to a great extent from your insightful words on converting projects to innovative projects. Thank you once again, sir.
Good evening all and my dear students. My name is Jyoti Mali, Vice Principal of Atharva College of Engineering. Would like to welcome you all for 2 days webinar on Startup Life Cycle and Patent Registration under ACEIIC Cell. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce you all the innovation facilities available at ACE. What is innovation? Innovation is the art, science, or process of developing better solutions from existing inventions and ideas. It is the validation and exploration of ideas that others may have missed, rejected, or long forgotten. Innovation connects the dot to transform those ideas into valuable products or service that can be used in everyday life. Innovation is the advancement of our tomorrow, and at ACE we have the people, asset to knowledge to help you make that tomorrow a reality. Let's innovate together. Atharva will be a leading global center of excellence in research, technology, and innovation that will transform education to serve as a valuable resource for industry and society. Honorable Shri Sunil Rane Sir, the Executive President of Atharva Group of Institutes and Founder Secretary AEG, always inspire and motivate students to come up with innovative projects through TechFest, Atharva iLab, Atharva Robotics Center. Atharva College of Engineering aims to constantly strive and provide comprehensive technological education in a healthy learning environment, nurturing technocrat leaders for the competitive world. Mission of Atharva: to provide the best educational opportunities in the most conducive work culture with highest level of professionalism and dedication to develop techno-managerial leaders in a progressively enhanced manner. Today, digital engineering solutions are driven by the convergence of increasing technological innovations, new business models, and an increasing number of innovative applications by technology and startup. The vibrating global digital ecosystem is foreseen to be the new growth engine for the industry. At ACE, we do have state-of-art infrastructure for such enormous possibilities and opportunities through Innovation Cell, Robotics Center, iMac Lab, iLab, Ground Station, Fabrication Lab, and Remote Embedded Lab. Atharva College of Engineering has set up Industrial Robotic Training Center for educational institutes since 2014. The Robotic Training Center is India's second and Maharashtra's first industrial training center amongst private engineering colleges in India, implemented with KUKA KR162C4 industrial robot. The Robotics Center had an addition of humanoid robot, India's first humanoid robotics center, again amongst private engineering colleges, implemented with Aldebaran Now Evolution humanoid robot since 2017, and an hospitality and service robot, again the first India's hospitality and service robotics center among private engineering colleges, implemented with Sandbot, which can perform multitude of operations since 2019. The high-tech robots in Atharva is equipped with high-end drones, which gives exposure to students on recent trends and technology in robotics and artificial intelligence. So, to an addition, we have a 6-foot tall humanoid robot sculpture made of steel demonstrating research, technology and innovation at Atharva Robotics Center. The center will be a milestone in the field of research, technology and innovation, and will boom the placement opportunities for students of Atharva College of Engineering. Here, ACE has set up a state-of-art iMac lab consisting of 20 iMac PCs, an iPad and Apple TV. The lab aims to equip the young graduates in various domains that drives the digital world like mobile computing, multimedia, cloud computing, etc. The lab has been set up to impart knowledge of Apple technologies in budding professionals and give them an hands-on experience on the incredibly powerful Mac operating systems. The vast variety of applications of Apple will foster their creativity and provide a platform for them to come up with groundbreaking projects. Innovation Lab, the iLab, transformation for a future-ready innovator. Atharva Center of Creativity has initiated a creative leadership, innovation and idea generation program for students of Atharva College of Engineering in its iLab. iLab is the lab of innovation and imagination. This lab shapes to your next breakthrough. It is one of India's most advanced and high-tech centers of creative leadership and innovation, which has been specifically set up with a view to provide an unprecedented experience in managerial development programs to the corporate professionals and students. The center has world-class infrastructure with 50 touchscreen computers, 1 TB hard disk, cutting-edge softwares, technological tools, and most advanced 3D idea generator software for generating breakthroughs. Atharva's iLab is a state-of-art facility which will exclusively be used for innovation through technology. Satellite Ground Station was established in 2008 as a part of IIT Bombay's first student satellite Pratham. The student satellite Pratham was launched by ISRO's 4-stage polar satellite launch vehicle at the Sriharikota Satish Dhawan Space Center successfully on 26 September 2016 at 9 am. Atharva Ground Station is one of the receiving stations to receive and process data sent by Pratham. Fab Lab, fabrication lab where it helps creative ideas to get fabricated in form of product or prototype. The lab is equipped with tools for every aspect of the technology development, design, fabrication, testing, debugging, monitoring and analysis. As the technology is making advancement and today's generation students are creative enough to rule this advanced technology era with their creative design and technology, Fab Lab helps to nurture and fabricate their creativeness. Remote Embedded Lab, ACE and Advanced Remote Lab in collaboration with ARM University program is a first of its kind lab that allows students to access embedded platforms remotely. Platforms such as FPGA, Cypress Programmable, and ARM Embed can easily be deployed for students. Hence, the Atharva Educational Trust believes in producing well-disciplined, practical-oriented, highly knowledgeable engineers to serve not only for themselves but for the society and nation. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I, Dr. Bhavin Shah, HOD, Department of Electronics Engineering, Coordinator, Atharva Robotics Center, and Area Coordinator, Atharva Innovation Cell, Atharva College of Engineering, Mumbai, take this opportunity to introduce our eminent speaker who is going to talk to us about innovative projects to patents. Our speaker is the Dean Research and Development, Professor in Mechanical Engineering, Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering, Nigri, Pune. His expertise includes manufacturing systems, new product development, metrology, and quality control industrial engineering. He has completed his PhD in production engineering from SGGS IT SRTM University, Nanded. He has published more than 20 research papers in reputed international journals and has 4 patents and 1 Indian design application to his credit. He has been awarded with Best Innovation Award 2017 by Automotive Component Manufacturing Association of India ACMA at 3rd Summit of ECMA Center for Technology. Raja Ram Bapu, Promising Engineering Teacher, Polytechnic for the year 2012 by IST New Delhi. UP Government National Award for Outstanding Work Done in Specified Areas of Engineering and Technology Polytechnics for the year 2009 by IST New Delhi. Best Polytechnic Teacher Award of Maharashtra State for the year 2007 by IST New Delhi. Innovator of Department of Science and Technology, Government of India under TEPP scheme. He is a PhD research guide at SP Pune University and has 7 research scholars registered under his name. He has established innovation and quality culture at institutes connected. He has worked in Autonomous Institute of Government of Maharashtra for more than 10 years at Government Polytechnic, Aurangabad, and an autonomous institute since 1994. He has also worked in various committees of curriculum development, continuing education, training and placement, industry institute interaction. He has also worked in various curriculum development committees of MSBT Mumbai and SPPU Pune. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our esteemed speaker for today, Dr. Sanjay Lakde.
Good afternoon. I welcome you all to my session on Project to Patent. Before I begin, I must thank Dr. Kallurkar sir, Principal, Atharva College of Engineering, and my guide for giving me this opportunity to talk. Also, I would like to thank Atharva College of Engineering Innovation Cell for organizing a webinar series on IPR and startup. I must thank Dr. Bhavin Shah for nicely introducing me to audience. I will start my session with a story of my own. I applied for a project of Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, under Technopreneur Promotion Program in 2006. The title of my project was Low Cost Greenhouse Structure. Funding received was 3.8 lakh rupees. Project duration was 12 months. It was a joint project of DSIR, DST, and TIFAC. The project was monitored by TIFAC scientists and Indian Council for Agriculture Research Scientists, as the project was from agriculture background. The project was to design, manufacture and install a low-cost greenhouse structure for small and marginal farmers in India. The project was successfully completed. Initially, I applied for provisional patent, but failed to apply for complete specification within 12 months. So my patent was abandoned. This was my first experience of filing the patent. So I'll be explaining you the precautions that you should take when you are filing the patent. Then I again applied through a patent attorney of Sri Sant Gajanan Maharaj College of Engineering Research Center, Shegaon, in 2010. And my patent was granted in November 2019. So it took almost 9 years to grant the patent. In India, the patent granting process is a bit slow. But nowadays, they have expedited the process by adding new examiners into the patent office. And there is a recent amendment in the patent law that if you want to go for granting of patent, you have to pay extra fee for expedited examination, usually for startups, and your patent may be granted within 1 or 2 years. So this is a very important learning for me to convert my project into a patent. Now we'll see what is a definition of project. Project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create unique product, service, or result. As mentioned in the definition, it is a time-bound activity. So every person who is working with a project should see that it should be completed within the specified time. And it should have tangible outcomes. Either you should create some product, service. If it is a research project, then it should have some results. Now we'll see the importance of project. First, experiential learning. Learn by doing. So a person who is undergoing a project learns a lot of things from the project. I will explain my case. I used to work in college during the daytime, and in the evening I used to go to my students' industry in Vaduz, Aurangabad, to work on this project. I learned a lot of skills. I did welding, I did drafting, I did designing, assembly. So this is the way in which students or anybody will learn a lot of things when they undergo a particular project. One more thing that you learn is working in a team. Nowadays, interdisciplinary team. That means students from mechanical, ENTC, computer can come together and work on a project. Now, while selecting the team members, one should see that the requisite skills are there in the students, like the skills of design and drafting, the skills of manufacturing and fabrication, the skills of design thinking, nowadays very important. When you think of design thinking skills, you have to think about the customer. You have to go into the shoes of the customer, find out the pain areas of the customer, and then design your project. Then one should have assembly and testing skills. So selecting the students in a team is a very, very critical part. Also, selecting an appropriate project or problem statement is again important, because you should select the problem statement of your area of interest. Then you will work with your heart and mind to work on the project to get the required results. You use project management tools, planning, organizing, coordinating and controlling during your project execution. When you are planning, you have to plan for time management. You have to plan for resources. You have to plan for the quality of your project. You have to plan for the budget for your project. And finally, you come out with the closing phase of your project. While working on the project, you must collaborate. Collaboration with industries is going to help you. Again, I will take my example for my project. For my project, I was requiring one extrusion die and a plastic extrusion machine company. So I collaborated with a company in Mumbai, Koregaon, and they gave me the extrusion die. Then I talked with a company in Vaduz MIDC having the extrusion machine facilities, and they could extrude the gripper required in my project as per my requirement. So the die which is manufactured in Mumbai is put onto the extrusion machines with the required ABS material. The component was extruded, and finally I used the component in my project. My project was a big project. It was installed on 5,000 square feet of land and it required a lot of components. So I need to collaborate with industries to get the work done for my project. So for all those who are working on various projects, can be a research project, can be a manufacturing project, can be a design project, start thinking about finding out the best collaborator. You should have design and drafting skills. Nowadays, because of the advent of the softwares, PLM softwares, you can design, draft all the components, simulate it. Once your computer tells you about the simulation results as per your expectations, then you start procuring the material components required for your project, manufacturing of your project, assembly of your components, and finally the testing of your project. Now, when you look at the Bloom's taxonomy, the apex of Bloom's taxonomy is create. The sixth level is create, and that you achieve when you complete your project. So the joy of creation is very important. Next, you have to think about filing an IP and protecting your IP through IPR, intellectual property rights. I'll be dealing with this in detail. Then one must think about startup registration. Recently, National Innovation and Startup Policy for students and faculty was declared by MHRD, AICT for higher education institutes. A bold step taken by Government of India to allow faculty to go for startup registration. They can register their startup on their own, or they can register their startup along with their students. They should go for single person company or a private limited company or a limited liability partnership firm. Once your company is registered, one should think about incubation. Incubating your project into government recognized incubators like Niti Aayog, Atal Innovation Mission, Atal Incubation Centers. Or you can incubate your project in any private incubations which are there in India. These incubators will help you in mentoring for your project, guidance in the areas of business model development, marketing, intellectual property right. You can get funding through angel investors. Again, you should be ready with a pitch of 3 to 5 minutes to be given to the angel investors for getting funds for your project. And finally, you come out with your product and launch your product in the market and start earning wealth out of your project. This is what the ultimate aim of either a student or faculty or any person should think about, earning wealth out of the project. Now, when you think about classification of the projects, there are a variety of projects. For students, they can have in-house projects like designing certain things, certain educational kits, manufacturing of jigs and fixtures required in their workshops, maintenance of certain machines in their workshops, or they can go for industry sponsored projects. So industry gives you a problem statement and you have to work on that problem statement and come out with some working model or some product for the company. Nowadays, import substitution projects are coming up like anything. Recently, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, our leader, gave one speech on opportunities in COVID after COVID-19. And he said that we are importing a lot of components, edible oil, drugs, medical devices, and this all can be stopped by starting MSMEs in these particular areas. He said in his speech that medical devices sectors are being formed, clusters are being formed in India. First cluster was formed at Vizag, and now they are expanding those clusters all over India. Considering the COVID-19 opportunities in medical device manufacturing. There is one more opportunity that students can think about projects based on expired patents. Now the patent has a tenure of 20 years. After 20 years, the project or the patent becomes open to public. Anybody can copy it. Find out such expired patents. Do some modification. Prepare your own project based on the expired patent and start earning money out of it. You can work on improvement in the existing products. There can be interdisciplinary projects. Nowadays, these kind of projects are coming up like anything, like robotics, automation, drones. All these projects are interdisciplinary projects, wherein the hardware requirement is taken up by mechanical students and the software requirements is taken up by ENTC and computer students. Projects of all benefits to the farmers, common man, and society can also be taken. For faculty, they should apply for government-funded projects. Like there are various government agencies like DST, AICTE, DSIR, CSIR, MSME, Indian Council for Agriculture Research, and they have different schemes. All these schemes are converted into certain projects. Like I will mention few. One scheme is now active, which is PRISM by DSIR, and it is under startup policy of Government of India also, promoting innovations in individuals, startups and MSMEs. DST projects in collaboration with US government, Korean government, Canada government are also there. Faculties are applying for RPS grants, research promotion projects, wherein the grants will be given by AICTE to work on their research and come out with required results. Now we'll see what is intellectual property and what is intellectual property right. IPR is the creation of human mind. The human beings' potential efforts lead to intellectual outcomes, which in turn have considerable value in economy. Rights associated with intellectual property, which give intellectual protection, is referred to as IPR. You can register your IP, intellectual property, at government. There is a website, ipindia.nic.in, for a variety of intellectual properties. Also, you should go to the WIPO website, World Intellectual Property Organization website, and study about intellectual property right. When you look at Global Innovation Index 2019, India was 52 position. So in last 5 years, it has jumped from 81 position to 52nd position. And now we have to see that our country should come into the top 10 innovative companies in the world. For that, we have to do a lot of efforts. If you look at the five most innovative countries in the world, like Germany, South Korea, Singapore, Switzerland, these are all countries, are very small countries. Their areas and population is equivalent to one of the states in India. But they are the most innovative countries in the world. So how we should come out to this particular position? Now, if you look at the figures for intellectual property right, you will find that India is filing almost 50,000 to 51,000 patents per year. And in 2019, the patents granted were 15,300. If you look at China, China files 14 lakh patents in 2019. See the figure. And granted 4,53,000 patents in 2019. China is the top filer of international patents in 2019. This was declared by WIPO in April 2020. Filing 58,990 patents at international level. And then comes US filing 57,840 patents. If you compare USPTO office in 2019, total patents filed worldwide were 3,93,000 at US Patent Office. Out of that, 1,98,000 from US, and Japan filed 57,500 patents. See, these are all international patents filed at US Patent Office by other countries. And India filed hardly 1,218 patents in 2019. So it is a very, very small amount. So we have to think about filing more and more patents to make our country in the top 10 countries, top 10 innovative countries in the world. Dr. Mashelkar sir said about creation of knowledge is an intellectual work. 21st century will be the century of knowledge, indeed the century of mind. Innovation is the key for production as well as processing of knowledge. A nation's ability to convert knowledge into wealth and social good through process of innovation will determine its future. In this context, issues like generation, valuation, protection, and exploitation of intellectual property are going to become critically important all over the world. So when you are inventing something, you must protect it to earn wealth out of it. Now, how these IP is classified? Intellectual property is classified into patents, copyrights, geographical indications, industrial designs, trademarks, layout designs of integrated circuits, trade secrets, and databases. We will be dealing with patents only in this session. Now, why one should go for patent? To protect your intellectual property. Most important thing. God has given us an intellect, and if you create something out of your intellect, you must protect it. And government has given a right to protect your intellectual property. So file a patent. Once you file a patent, you create your identity. You are different from the huge number of students coming out of engineering colleges because you have filed patent. And you start earning money out of your patent. Once you file a patent and your patent is published, industries, people all over the world are looking at your work. If they like your work, they may approach you and ask you for buying your patent, and you can earn huge amount of money out of your patent. So one must think about filing the patent. Now we'll see what is patent. A patent is a property right granted by the government to an inventor to exclude others from making, using, offering for sale, or selling the invention, or importing the invention for a limited time in exchange of public disclosure of the invention when the patent is granted. Patent is a territorial right and is for a limited period of time, that is 20 years. That means if you apply for patent in India, your work is protected in India only. If you want to apply for US, your work will be patented in US only. You can see the two certificates on the screen. One is by Government of India after granting a patent, and one is by United States of America. So once your patent is granted, you will be getting some such certificate for your patent. Now when you start thinking about patent, there are patentability criterias, and major three criteria are there. The first one is novelty. Your work should be original, new, unknown, not published, undisclosed, not in public domain, not discussed, not used, not sold. What does it mean? That if you have something new with you, usually it is psychology that you tell to your friends, or you try to publish it in newspaper that you have invented such and such thing. You write a blog. By doing so, you make your work in public domain, and you lose the right to file a patent because you lost the novelty of your work. So see that before filing your patent, you should not disclose your work to anybody. You should not publish a research paper. You should not write a blog. You should not write anything and disclose it to any public domain. Second most important thing is non-obviousness or inventive step. Not obvious to one skilled in the art. It's a person having the skill of 4 to 5 years in that particular area. That means if you say that you have created a fan with 4 blades. Now the existing fan is with 3 blades, and you claim that you have a fan with 4 blades. So it is obvious that it is going to disperse certain small higher amount of air. So this cannot be patented. It is obvious. So such kind of things are avoided or are not patentable. Utility, the most important thing, that your patent is capable for industrial applications, process invented and then product. What are not patentable? Section 3 and 4 of Indian Patent Act describes what is not patentable. Inventions claiming anything obviously contrary to well-established natural laws, they are not patentable. Inventions contrary to public order, morality, or which cause serious prejudice to human, animal, or plant life, or health, or to the environment are not patentable. Discovery of any living thing or non-living substance occurring in nature is not patentable. If you are using some part of nature, you have to take the permission of NBA, National Biodiversity Authority, before you use that in your work. Discovery of new forms of known substance or mere discovery of new property or new use of for a known substance under section 3D is not patentable. Substance obtained by mere admixture resulting only in the aggregation or properties of the component is not patentable. Mere arrangement or rearrangement or duplication of known devices is not patentable. Plants and animals in whole or any part of them other than genetically modified microorganisms are not patentable. Method of agriculture and horticulture is not patentable. Process for medicinal, surgical, curative, diagnostic, therapeutic, or other treatment of human beings and animals is not patentable. Mathematical or business method or algorithm, computer programs are not patentable. Inventions relating to atomic energy are not patentable under section 4 of Patent Act. For computer programs or algorithms, you can file copyright, but they are not patentable. Now, when you look at the patent procedure, you can see these 4 components. First, your own original invention. Then you have to go for a prior art search, which is a very, very important component in patent. That we say that patent is a territorial right. But when you are going for prior art search, you have to go for global search. That whatever invention that you have done, nobody in the world have done such kind of work. So you have to see, you have to search. So there are various patent search engines. There are paid search engines. In common, we use Google Patent Search Engine to search the work similar to your work. Study the patents done by other people. And then you have to start about the patent drafting. Patent filing and prosecution. Now you can see here a flow chart for patent prosecution. So either, as I told you, that you can file a provisional patent. If you are not sure about your work, that means it is in the development stage, but you want to protect your work. The moment you file a provisional patent, it becomes yours. But it is not published. Within 12 months, you have to file the complete specification. And then your work will be published. There is a process of early publication also. So by paying additional fees, you can ask for early publication and your patent will be published within a month. On a regular basis, it takes almost 1.5 years to publish a patent, 18 months to publish a patent. So by applying with early publication, your patent will be published within a month. Then you have to apply for request for examination within 48 months after filing the patent. Very important. If you fail to do that, your patent will be abandoned. There are two cases in which your patent can be abandoned. One case is if you do not file your complete specification within 12 months after filing the provisional specification, your patent will be abandoned. Or if you do not file request for examination within 48 months from the date of application, your patent will be abandoned. After filing the examination, you will be getting the first examination report within 12 months. But this takes more time. The first examination report says that your patent is novel. Then they can grant the patent to you. If it has some queries, you have to answer these queries in person or through conference calls. Once you report these queries, examiners will study it and they found okay, then they will grant the patent. This is a usual process or flow chart for getting the patent granted. Now, what is the patent procedure? Make an application under section 6. Who can make an application? Any person claiming to be a true and first inventor can file a patent. Assignee of a person claiming to be a true and first inventor can file a patent. Applications can be made, as I said, complete specification, section 10, rule 13, with provisional specification to be followed by complete specification within 12 months. Application to be made in the branch of the patent office having jurisdiction. Jurisdiction is decided in accordance with the place of residence of business. In India, there are 4 jurisdictions. The territorial jurisdictions of appropriate offices for the applicants. They are Mumbai, Chennai, Delhi, and Kolkata. For us, the state of Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, Goa, Chhattisgarh, and the union territories of Daman and Diu and Dadra Nagar Haveli, we have Patent Office branch in Mumbai. Mumbai Patent Office is located at Bauddhik Sampada Bhavan and Top Hill, SM Road, Mumbai. Nowadays, because of online patent filing, it has become easy that you can file a patent online and submit your application. What is included in the patent specification? When you are filing a patent, we'll be discussing about the forms and fees. But when you are writing or drafting your patent application, it should include the title, the inventor's name, the patent agent or attorney name and address, abstract of the patent, drawings, very important part, a line drawing with numbering to the drawing, field of invention, description of the prior art, summary, brief description of the drawing, detailed description of the drawing, and finally the claims. The most important part is the claims. The claim or claims must particularly point out and distinctly claim the subject matter which you regard as the invention. The claims define the scope of the protection of the patent. Whether a patent will be granted is determined in large measure by the choice of wording of the claims. So writing a claim is a very, very important part of the patent document. The claim section must begin with the statement, what I claim as my invention is, or I or we claim, followed by the statement of what you regard as your invention. Claim determines the boundary of your work. As you can see, that if you have a plot of 5,000 square feet, you put a fencing of 5,000 square feet to your plot, and that shows you that this plot of 5,000 square feet belongs to you. Similarly, in the claims, it determines the boundaries of your work. Important characteristics of the claims. 3 criteria to take note of when drafting your claims are that they should be clear, complete, and supported. Every claim must be one sentence, as long or as short as a sentence as required to be complete. Should be clear. Your claim must be clear so that you do not cause the reader to speculate about the claim. If you find yourself using words such as thin, strong, major part, such as when required, then you are probably not being clear enough. These words force the reader to make a subjective judgment, not an objective observation. Be complete. Such claim should be complete so that it covers the inventive feature and enough elements around it to put the invention in the proper context. They have to be supported. The claims have to be supported by the description. This means that all the characteristics of your invention that form part of the claim must be fully explained in the description. In addition, any terms you use in the claims must either be found in the description or clearly inferred for the description. So what are the relevant forms for filing a patent? Form number 1, application for grant of patent. Form number 2, provisional or complete specification. Form number 3, details of foreign filing within 6 months of the filing. You have to give the declaration. Form number 5, declaration as an inventorship. Form number 9, request for early publication. This is optional. If you do not want to go for early publication, you should not fill form number 9. Then your patent will be published within 18 months. Then form number 18, request for examination. And now form number 18A, request for expedited examination. So you can ask by paying additional fees, expedited examination, so that your patent will be granted within a year or 2. There is a very, very important component. The total government fees approximately that you pay in 20 years of span. The first patent filing fee for an individual, it is 1750 rupees if you are filing physically. If you are filing online, it is 1600 rupees. And for a small entity or a small organization, it is 4400 rupees. Request for examination, 4400 rupees and 11,000 rupees. Then if your claims are above 10 claims, then you have to pay some additional fees. If you require additional sheets for your claims, you require to pay additional fees. For renewal of the patents, from third year to sixth year, 880 rupees for an individual and 2,200 rupees per year for a small entity. 7 to 10 year, 11 to 15 year, 16 to 20 year, these are the fees. And total fees that you pay is 90,770 rupees in a span of 20 years for an individual. And 2,26,600 rupees for a small entity. If you want to go for early publication, you have to pay 2,750 rupees on an individual or 6,900 rupees as a small entity. So this is one more important thing that you should think about, that if you are filing a patent, you are paying almost 1 lakh rupees to government. And if you are filing through patent attorney or patent agent, another 50,000 rupees you can add. So you must earn out of your patent. Ways of filing the patent. So you can have a patent application by provisional specification, complete specification, or through national phase through PCT. Now what is this PCT? Patent Cooperation Treaty. Patent Cooperation Treaty was established in June 1970 at Washington to overcome some of the problems involved in the national system. Cooperation Treaty or PCT entered into force on January 24, 1978 and became operational in June 1, 1978 with an initial 18 contracting states. Now we have 153 member states as on 1st April 2020. Patent Cooperation Treaty, PCT, is a facilitation mechanism, is not an institution to grant a patent. The advantages for filing patent through PCT is a single application deemed to be filed at the same time in all the contracting states. Expenditure on multiple applications and manual efforts are reduced. The application has a choice to select the authority to conduct preliminary search and examination, evaluate the chance of possibility of invention getting the grant of the patent, and say single window facility. Now this is very, very important part of the patent. One must think about commercialization of the patent. So practice a patent, start your business. You can start a partnership business or a joint venture. If you are not in a position to start your own business, then license your technology or patent to some firm and earn royalty for a limited span, as mentioned in the agreement. You can franchise your work, or you can sell your patent to some big company and earn a lump sum amount. I'll give one example. A lady, a PhD scholar from National Chemical Laboratory, Pune, for her PhD work on contraceptive medicines using medicinal plants, she filed a patent. The patent was published. And before grant of patent, Johnson and Johnson company could take her patent for 5 crore rupees. So the lady sold her patent for 5 crore rupees to Johnson and Johnson company, and it's a huge amount. If you start earning throughout your life, you will not earn 5 crore rupees. So in a very short span of the work, maybe 3 to 5 years of her research work, she could earn 5 crore rupees for the work. So this is the power of patent. Try to establish your own intellectual power. Start working on various projects and file patent, and don't stop. Commercialize it. Earn wealth out of it. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay Lakde sir, for an enlightening and extremely informative session on innovative projects to patents. We are honored and delighted that you have spent your precious time and shared your views on innovative projects to patents, which has broadened our horizons. The positive responses to the session are a reflection of acceptance and credibility from the participants. Once again, thank you for having the webinar on startup lifecycle and patent registration successful, and we appreciate your continued support.
Hello all, my name is Dr. Ritu Sharma, HOD, Humanities and Applied Sciences Department at Atharva College of Engineering. At Atharva, we always focus on out-of-the-box teaching techniques, one of which is project-based learning. Mr. Ninad Mahadeshwar and Abhilasha Sani will put more focus on project-based learning that we have started from this year in our department.
Hello all, this is Ninad Mahadeshwar, Assistant Professor at Atharva College of Engineering. I teach the subjects of engineering mechanics and engineering graphics. Since this subject are regarded as the basic subject of engineering curriculum, we at Atharva are focused on making this engineering foundation strong. As we know that in traditional method of teaching, we introduce a particular concept in the class, then we solve engineering problems related to that concept. But whether the concept has been understood by the student or not, that is tested by project-based learning. For instance, we kept a mini project competition on the subject of engineering mechanics on 8 November 2019. The work on the mini project started a month prior, where we, the professors, allotted few concepts to this group of few students, which they had to convert a working model of. Over the period of 1 month, we realized that not only the students created a working model, but it developed 3 graduate attributes in that, which was teamwork, where students get along with each other. Second was creativity of converting a concept into a working model. Third was curiosity, how other students are doing their work. During the course of that entire month, we came to a conclusion that due to this exercise of project-based learning, all the students of first year engineering understood the concept of engineering mechanics. Here are the few glimpses of it.
Hello all. Hello all. I am Abhilasha Sani, Assistant Professor of Engineering Physics at Atharva College of Engineering, Mumbai. As we know, for deep understanding of physics, the theory and practical should go hand in hand. Here at Atharva College of Engineering, we emphasize on project-based learning to prepare the students to realistic problem to be solved in real world. So, for this purpose, we organized an exhibition of mini projects on sensors and their applications on 5th of March 2020. In total, 215 students of first year engineering participated enthusiastically with their unique ideas on sensors, like the use of piezoelectricity in road safety and control system, sensors in various security systems, the use of radar system for agricultural purpose, the use of sensors in precision making, the creation of low-cost holograms for three-dimensional view, etc. This activity provided opportunities for students to drive their own learning and help to develop management. This helped in bridging the gap between the traditional learning and real life experiences so that in future they can work on their own startups. Here is the glimpse of the exhibition.
Good evening to all. Myself, Professor Neha Singh. Now I will take the opportunity to invite the next speaker for the session. She is Advocate Pragya Arora. She is a young, strategic and responsive lawyer who founded PA Legal after catering domestic and foreign clients for multidisciplinary industries at a well-reputed firm. She is experienced in providing end-to-end services in the domain of intellectual property, right from the conceptualization and strategic building to grant, defense, enforcement, and commercialization. Pragya holds Bachelor of Technology in Electrical Engineering from GBPUAT Pantnagar and LLB Honours in IPR from reputed IIT Kharagpur Law School. With a strong educational background in the law and technology, she has expertise in handling intellectual property matters related to the field of software, electrical, mechanical, electronics, telecommunication, and robotics. Discussion by her will help inventors, entrepreneurs, and startups to understand how to protect their patent application, process along with the aspects such as patentability criteria, drafting practice, common mistakes to be avoided, and much more. We welcome you, ma'am, and the session is handed over to you.
Hello everybody, thank you for joining in today. I know it must have been difficult for you to attend a workshop for this long, and as I'm a last speaker today, so I'll begin by thanking all of you for being here and showing your interest in learning about patent protection and patent registration. Let me begin by telling you something about myself. I am Pragya Arora. I uh, I did my engineering from GBPUAT Pantnagar, and then I did law from IIT Kharagpur. After working a considerable number of years at a law firm, I started with PA Legal. We deal with all intellectual property and technology law matters. The reason I am here today is to spread awareness about intellectual property and patent protection. Believe me, it is not as difficult as it seems. So let me directly take you to the presentation. So today we'll be discussing about what exactly is intellectual property. We'll briefly take an overview of various forms of intellectual property, and then we'll come to basics of patent protection. So what is intellectual property? We consider intellectual property as something which is very difficult to understand, but we live with intellectual property throughout the day. If I ask you how you begin your day, probably you will say by brushing your teeth. And with what do you brush your teeth? Maybe it's Colgate, maybe it's Pepsodent, maybe it's Close-Up or any other toothpaste. But if I come to you tomorrow morning and say use this toothpaste with no label on it and just a plastic bottle written toothpaste, would you use that? Probably not. Why? Because you have a certain attachment or a goodwill attached with the brand, whatever brand you use, and that's where intellectual property comes. This is the form of intellectual property called trademark. Similarly, if I say where do you sleep, probably you'll say on a sleep well mattress. I'm not sure, but that might be a patented article on which you sleep.
it has certain kind of cushioning which provides you good sleep. So these all are forms of intellectual property, and it is very, very important for you to know that these intellectual property are your everyday companion. So intellectual property, we say, is our creations of mind which have certain commercial value attached to it. It could be in the form of inventions, in the form of literary artistic works, in the form of symbols, names, images, etc. What intellectual property does is it pushes the innovation forward. Why? Because when we have rights and commercial values attached to certain product, we bring in innovation in our environment. Similarly, it helps in the growth of economy. When we take intellectual property as a medium to bring gross profits to to our country, the GDP rises. So it is a medium to provide growth to the economy. Also, it protects the consumer and the society. For example, if we consider trademarks as an example, it helps us to stay away from counterfeit products which could be of low quality, and it helps us use high quality products. So in this manner, intellectual property also protects the consumer and the society. So let us consider what are various forms of intellectual property, and for it we'll take an example of a mobile phone. So in a mobile phone, there could be various types of intellectual property, but today for the purpose of an example, I have considered these 5 intellectual property, as I believe these are the most important ones for any inventor to understand. So first is copyright. What could be the subject matter of copyright in a mobile phone? It could be copyrights are generally literary, artistic, or software works. For example, in the mobile phone, you have the user manuals, you have articles, you have jingles, you have music. All these are subject matter of copyright. The registration of copyright is not essential, but it's helpful. Why it is helpful is tomorrow if a suit for infringement arises, if the copyright is registered, you will have an evidence to prove in court that your work existed on that day, on the day of registration. So it is helpful in certain cases where we foresee infringement, or there could be a major issue attached with your intellectual property, but registration of copyright is not essential, it's not mandatory. The term of copyright is lifetime plus 60 years from death of the author. Now let us consider what could be trademarks in the mobile phone. The trademarks could be in the form of logos. Any logo which is there on the mobile phone is a trademark. Any brand name is a trademark. Even icons of various apps you use could be a trademark. Anything which associates you with certain product or a service is a trademark. The moment you hear a Nokia ringtone, gives you an idea that this tune is of Nokia. So Nokia ringtone is also a trademark. Registration of a trademark is recommended. Again, it is not mandatory, but it is recommended, because whenever there is a suit for infringement, you have an evidence that you have filed a trademark at a certain date and you have been using that product, that brand name since certain date, and you have a brand a goodwill attached to that trademark. So the term of trademark is perpetual, but you'll have to use that trademark and renew that trademark every 10 years. Now let us see what is the subject matter of patent in a mobile phone. Patent could be any functional element which is there in your mobile phone. The functional element could be in the form of battery. For example, if your mobile phone uses a certain battery which gives maybe reduces thickness of your mobile phone, then that is the subject matter of the patent. If you are using flexible batteries in mobile phone, which reduces space occupied in the mobile phone, then it is again a subject matter of patent. Any functional element, the display, the keys of like new form of keys could be a subject matter of patent. Registration of patent is mandatory. Patent is a jurisdictional right. You do not get world over right with it. So it is a jurisdictional right. And term of patent is 20 years from date of filing. Now let us see what is design. So design protects aesthetics of a product. For example, look of the mobile phone, the curved edges of the mobile phone, the way the mobile phone looks, all the aesthetics is the subject matter of design. The registration of design is also mandatory. The term of design is 10 years from filing date, which is extendable by 5 years. Now let us see what is a trade secret. Trade secret is the confidential information which could be present in your mobile phone. For example, if I give you a very good example of a trade secret, it could be Google engine algorithm. We all use Google search engine almost like 100 times during the day. But that algorithm is a trade secret. We do not know how Google actually uses that algorithm, or or how we get those search results. It is not protected under patent or any other intellectual property. They have decided to like not to disclose that confidential information to anybody. That's why this is a trade secret, and term of the trade secret could be n number of years till they decide to keep that information as confidential information. So now let us begin by understanding basics of patent protection and how the patent protection could help to commercialize the ideas to a larger extent. So let us begin by understanding what actually is a patent. For that, let me consider an example. For example, I wake up today and I have an idea in my mind that I'll have a virtual friend with me who can play video games with me, and I am going to develop that product. And as I am an engineer, I know I can use certain technology to make that product, and life would be very good because during the lockdown days, I'll have somebody who can play video games with me. So how will I get a patent on it? So patent is a set of exclusive rights which is granted by the government to an inventor or an assignee for a limited period of time in exchange for disclosure of an invention. So when I document the idea in a form of an invention disclosure or a complete application and give that application to the patent office, the patent office will examine that application and it will grant me a set of exclusive rights for a limited period of time, and that time is 20 years in India. So when we give that information and we get a right in lieu of that information, it is called that we have a patent on it. So patent basically pushes the technology forward. How? When certain people disclose the invention to the public, like every patent is associated with publication. So when certain people gives the disclosure to the government and government publishes that document on the patent office website, then anybody could come and read that invention. And when anybody could come and read that invention, then there is a push in the market. Why? Because there is a larger amount of knowledge available in the domain, and people, like for 20 years people cannot practice your invention, but they can read your invention and like expand their knowledge and bring about new innovations. So what patent does is it pushes the technology forward, and we should not see patent as like certain kind of restrictions in the society, because it has huge amount of advantages as well. So now let us see what to patent. According to the Patent Act, any new product or a process could be a subject matter of a patent. So let us see what all it can include. It can include a process or a method, say a new way of manufacture steel or anything is a process to do something. So that could be a subject matter of patent. A machine could be a subject matter of patent. A manufactured article like chair, pen, earphones, mobile phones, all the manufactured articles could be subject matter of patent. Then compositions such as paint, pharmaceutical drugs, lubricants, and all the chemicals could be subject matter of a patent. So let us now try to understand what are patent rights and what effects you will get when you get those rights. So what are patent rights? So for patents, we say that patent is a negative right. Why negative right? Because it is the right to exclude others from practicing the invention. We say Patent Act gives us 5 exclusive rights. We can exclude others from manufacturing, selling, using, offering for sale, and importing. These 5 things we can exclude others to do it. So when you exclude others from manufacturing, using, selling, offering for sale, or importing your invention, what you get is monopoly in the market. It is valid for 20 years. What does that mean is for 20 years, you will be using your invention, and if any other person want to practice your invention, he'll have to take a valid license from you. So you will have the monopoly in the market. And it is very important to understand there is no right in the unclaimed subject matter. Whatever is there in your patent convention, the rights are limited to only the disclosure what you have given to the government. If you say that some external part I missed to write in the invention disclosure form, probably you'll lose your rights on that. So it is very important to see what you are writing in that invention disclosures. So how patent office, so what are the effects of getting these rights? The first and foremost effect is getting entry to a market. What we attorneys say is one patent has the capability to bring out one whole industry in the market. So one patent can give rise to one industry. How? I'll give you an example. When we were very small, we used to have those cameras, and we used to enjoy clicking pictures, and after a certain number of days we used to go to the labs, get the film rolls uh, converted into photographs, and then we'll have those photographs to see. But then Steven Sasson came and he invented digital cameras. Nowadays, that industry is gone. We hardly see any of those labs who convert those film cameras. Why? Because whole new industry came into existence, and when a new industry can come into existence, the older one, it dies out. I'll give you another example. When we were small, we used to write with chalks on the slate. And then a new patent of dustless chalk was filed. And the initial chalk went away. Then marker and whiteboard came. The chalks and slate boards started losing their value. Then we now have digital pens, and the board and marker are also losing their value. So one patent has a capability to give rise to one new industry in the market. What other things you get after getting those rights is after filing or getting a grant on a patent is exclusive right. That is the monopoly you get for 20 years to exclude others from practicing your invention. Then you get return on investment. For filing or getting a patent, you might have spent a huge amount of R&D in the form of monetary value and also in the form of time. So what you get from patent is return on your investment. You have the opportunity to commercialize whatever product you have developed. Then you get opportunity to license or sell the invention. We have huge number of clients who do not have the capability of manufacturing something. So, but they are very good researchers. So what they do is they file patent, they get a patent, and they get an opportunity to license or sell that invention to bigger companies. I'll give you a very good example of selling or licensing a patent, and what all things should you consider while the licensing agreements of the intellectual property. So when Rolls-Royce wanted to dissociate its assets, Volkswagen bought its intellectual property, and Volkswagen used that technology to manufacture the cars, but they did not see huge amount of profits. Why? Because in the licensing agreements, they did not include trademark of Rolls-Royce. Trademark of Rolls-Royce was bought by BMW, and BMW got tremendous benefits out of that. So it is very important for us to know that what we are including in the intellectual property licensing agreement and what we are excluding from the licensing agreement. So when you have correct licensing agreements, you have all the capability, you have the negotiating power, you have an opportunity to earn some good amount of money. So all this comes with the patent rights. And in India especially, we have this concept called a good company with a good intellectual property portfolio will have a positive image in the market. So giving a positive image to the enterprise is also an effect of patents. Now let us try to understand what is the patentability criteria. I use the same example of the virtual friend what I have developed, and I'll try to see whether I can file a patent for it or not. So we basically say that the patentability criteria is the NUNS test. That is NUNS test. So now what NUNS test include is novelty, utility, non-obviousness, and subject matter eligibility. Let us try to see what exactly is novelty. Novelty means it has to be new, it should not be published or disclosed in prior documents, and it should not be claimed by the patent in patents which have already been filed. So it should be a new technical advancement which is present in the world. So if my virtual friend or the manner in which I develop that virtual friend is not known by anybody, then I say I pass the test of novelty. What is then we come to utility. What is utility? Utility means anything which is capable of being made or used in an industry. So the virtual friend, I know it has an industry in which people will enjoy gaming and they'll enjoy playing games with the virtual friend. So it has some kind of utility of bringing entertainment or in the life of people. So yeah, so that is utility. Then we see what is non-obviousness or inventive step. So non-obviousness and inventive step is analyzed based on technical advancement and economic significance. So if I'm using say a new kind of laser technology to develop that virtual friend, then there is a technical advancement. But if I'm using all the old techniques which are known to, say, software engineers who are working in the similar domains, what we say is it is uh, obvious to the person skilled in the art. So if I'm using old technologies, then it might not satisfy the test of non-obviousness. So it has to have something, maybe a single component which is new, which bring, so we can say the inventive step is satisfied. Next, let us try to see what is subject matter eligibility. Subject matter eligibility is satisfied when we are not going against the law. Section 3 of the Patent Act gives us some kind of subject matters which are not patentable. For example, if the invention is frivolous or against the natural principles, say a machine which is giving you efficiency with more than 100%, it has 110% efficiency, which is not possible according to laws of physics. So that might not get patentable. Anything which is contrary to public order and morality might not get patent. The method of treating, say, humans is not patent. Then software per se is not patentable. So all these are examples which are not patentable and barred by law. So what we attorneys do, or if you are filing a patent in these domains which are not patentable by the patent office, then what do? We try to brainstorm and bring it into the domain where it can be patented. For example, if method of horticulture or agriculture is not patentable, what we'll do is we try to file a patent on a system that provides artificial environment to the plants or to horticulture products, and that system will then would be eligible in the in subject matter eligibility. So if you are filing a patent in domains like these, then it is very important to tweak your invention in a way that it becomes patentable. For example, method of treating a human is not patentable, but medical devices or surgical instruments or systems which take care of these could be patentable. So we have to tweak our inventions in a certain manner to obtain a patent on it. So if you pass this NUNS test, you can go ahead and file a patent of your invention and get your patent granted. So let us try to see what is the grant procedure in India. So it is not very difficult procedure, but it requires some kind of understanding. Basically, you will have to know that there are 4 important steps in the grant procedure, which are filing, publication, examination, and then grant. So let us begin by understanding what exactly is filing. So filing of a patent application can be done in 2 ways. It is, you can either file by providing a provisional specification, or you can file by providing a complete specification. If you file with the provisional specification, you get 12 months timeline to file complete specification. So it is a very strategic decision that whether you are filing a provisional application or a complete application. Provisional application can be filed when when according to you, your invention is not developed to a certain extent and it requires a lot amount of say additional examples or implementations, then you can file provisional application. But if you see that your invention is developed to a certain extent and you are satisfied with the amount of work that has presently been done on the invention, then you can go ahead and file complete application. If you file a provisional application and you fail to provide complete application within 12 months, your application will get abandoned. So it is very important to take care of these timelines. So next step comes the publication. So how publications happen is either you will file a request for early publication, or if you have not filed a request for early publication, your publication will automatically happen within 1 month after expiry of 18 months. What does publication mean and how it is advantageous? Publication means that patent office will publish your application in a journal and people would be able to read your application. So why is it important to you? For example, you get a grant on your patent and then someone is infringing and you file a suit in the court. So it is the date of publication from which your damages will arise, and you will get all your awards from the date of publication. That makes publication date very, very important. So next comes examination. So once your application is published and it is available for people to look around and people can go and read it, so people will get an opportunity to file pre-grant opposition. What does it mean? That people themselves can come and say that your invention is not new or it is not satisfying the nonce test. And also after publication, examination happens. So for examination, it is important for us to file request for examination. And if you fall into certain special categories, for example, you are a startup or you are a women applicant or a government undertaking or a small entity, then you can go for expedited examination. It is a special kind of examination which is provided to these categories. When you file for expedited examination, the examination happens early and the process is a bit faster. So when examiner examines your application, it gives you an examination report. And according to that report, you may either amend or analyze what are the next steps you want to take on that application. You have 6 months, 6 to 9 months, that is 6 months, which is extendable by 3 months to file the reply to this examination. After you have amended the documents, the examiner will re-examine the document, basically your specification or the claims, and then the examiner may either grant, or if he is not satisfied, he may offer a hearing. And after that hearing, what happens is, if the objections are met, your application will get a grant. If you fail to meet those objections, then your application will get abandoned. So this is an overview of the Indian process. And now let us try to see what if you want to file a patent in other countries. So firstly, it is very important to understand that patent is a jurisdictional right. If you have filed a patent in India, you will get right to commercialize or gain benefits from your inventions only in India. If you file in other countries, you will get right in those countries as well. So there are two kind of procedures what you can follow to file the patent application in other countries. One is the Paris Convention route and other is PCT route. PCT is Patent Cooperation Treaty. So let us try to understand what is the Paris Convention route. I want to file the application of my virtual friend in India, and I want to file the application in US. So I'm very clear about it that I have to go in these two jurisdictions only, and I do not have to capture other markets in the world. What I will do is I'll take the Paris Convention route. I file the application in India, and within 12 months of the filing date, I'll file the application in US. So this 12 months period is there where I can go to any other country to file the application. Now let us try to understand how is it different from PCT, or what we generally say is the international application. So when we take a PCT route, we file an application in a contracting state. For example, it is India. We get an opportunity to file in other member states. And PCT currently has approximately 152 member states. So what does that mean is, with your application, which is filed in India, you can take the priority and you can file applications in those 152 countries. But filing 150 in those 152 countries would be very, very expensive. So we never file a patent, generally never file a patent application in 152 countries. But we generally follow PCT route when we know that we have to file application in a number of countries. And we are not sure to analyze like. So yeah, how do we file application in other in PCT member states? So we file an application in India, and within 12 months we file an application office of the WIPO. So when we file the application in receiving office, the ISA, which we call International Search Authority, will issue ISR and written opinion within 6 months from date of priority, 16 months from the date of priority. So according to that written opinion or the ISR which is given to us by the ISA, we have the opportunity to amend our application in later on. But yeah, we have the opportunity to amend that application. The publication again happens within 18 months from date of priority. And after completion of 30 to 31 months, it depends on country to country. Some countries have a timeline of 30 months, others have a timeline of 31 months. So whenever there is a completion of these or before this timeline, we have to enter into national phases of whatever countries we want to get the rights in. For example, I want to file a patent application in US, Europe, Australia, and many other countries. What would I do is I go take a PCT route, because I'm not sure in how many countries I want to file the application at the time of filing of the application. I want to analyze the commercial markets later on. So I'll choose a PCT route with which I get 30 to 31 months to analyze the market and to enter into the national phases of other countries. So it is a timeline of approximately 18 months extra what we'll get through PCT route. And also during this time, I'll arrange the finances. The procedure is going to be expensive. The procedure is going to be expensive for filing applications and getting a grant in so many different countries. So I need some time in arranging the financials for it. So yes, this 30-31 months timeline would help me in that manner. And once I have filed the application in national phases, each country will again examine that application and give me a grant. So now let us try to understand what are key points to consider before drafting the patent application. So let us try to understand why is drafting so important and why do we attorneys focus on patent drafting so much. See, these are the steps which are associated with your patent application. So first step is finding a technical solution to a technical problem. If you have found a technical solution to a technical problem, then the next step comes to crystallize your idea. How are you going to implement the solution which you have decided? How are you going to put all the technical effects together to bring out your invention? When that is done, Then we move to drafting and filing of the application. After that, prosecution stage comes, where examiner is going to examine your application. Then the grant is going to come, commercialization is going to come, enforcement is going to come, and success and failure of your patent or your invention is going to be decided. So all these steps from prosecution or deciding success or failure, they drop to drafting and filing. Why? Because as I've written also, you cannot continue to painting a picture of the invention. What you have written in your application becomes the Bible, it becomes the words which cannot be altered, which you cannot increase the scope of your invention, which is once provided. So it is very, very important to see what you have included in your invention. So what you have to take care is you have to enlist your problem and identify the prior arts and see what are the technical advantages of your invention in lieu of those prior arts, or in lieu of the state of the art or the technology that is currently in the world, how that technology is not able to provide the solution to the same technical problem. Once you do that, you have to conduct a patentability search. Patentability search, you can do it yourself, or as recommended, you can hire a professional for that. What is done in patentability search is we try to check the nonce test and see whether your invention is patentable or not. If your invention is not patentable, we can tweak around, we can see how it can be made patentable, and we can apply those technical amendments and then move forward. But if you have not considered doing a patentability search, it might happen that your invention would not be patentable and you'll be losing a huge amount of investment what you will be doing in your patent application during the prosecution, drafting, filing, and other things. Next is you have to decide whether you want to go forward with provisional application or you want to go forward with complete specification. So this is also very important. If you see you have developed your technology to a certain extent and you don't see any technical changes in your specification, then you can go with the complete specification. But if you anticipate that there are going to be changes in the technology, what you have thought of, like minute changes, not large changes, then you can go with provisional application. Then you have to decide what would be the expected geographies, because on the basis of that, if you want to proceed with foreign filings in other countries, you'll have to decide which route you have to take. Then you have to decide scope of the subject matter to be protected, which includes what are the new points, what are the technical advancements. You have to specifically decide that scope. And then you have to decide commercial ability. If your invention is not capable of being commercialized, you'll end up spending huge amount of money in patent filings, which may not be useful for you. So it is very important to analyze whether your invention is commercially viable or not. So now let us try to analyze a patent and see what is a structure of a patent application and what all things do you require to file in your patent application. So I'll open a document. So yeah, so this virtual friend has been filed by Sony recently, so I would not be getting a patent on the virtual friend I'm developing if I'm using the same technology. If my technology is different, I might get a patent on it. So let us try to see what are important parts of this patent application. So first is the title, which says object control system and object control method. So title, generally indicates what is the technical advancement or what is the specific feature what we feel is new for the world. So this has to be given in 15 words, not more than 15 words, and indicate specific feature. Next is the abstract. Abstract is also a kind of short, brief summary. It also includes technical advancement of the invention, and it has to be given in 150 words. It should not exceed 150 words. It is a criteria which is set by the patent office. Then these are some drawings. We can give line diagrams or we can even give flow charts. And after these drawings, this is the main application what what Sony has filed. So this is the title. Then comes the technical field. The technical field indicates field of the invention to which it pertains to. For example, it could be a virtual object or computer science technology or something like that. Then we have to give background art. In background art, we try to describe what is the current state of the art. And we can also give a brief problem which the state of art is not able to solve. But we never disclose any of the novel element or technical advancement of our application in the background. Why? Because background section in itself can act as a prior art for us. So that is there, that in background we just have to mention the state of the art and what is the problem that would be associated with the state of the art. Then comes the summary. Summary, interestingly, we call it is the money element of the patent application. It is one of the most important element what the attorneys look at while reading the description, because it gives an idea of what the invention is all about and how it is solving the current needs. So we try to give a technical problem, a technical solution, and we even try to give one small example in the summary so that the invention itself becomes clear when the person reads the summary. The summary should not be too long, it should not be too short as well. So we can include like the most important elements of our invention in the summary and give one example and how that example is solving the current problem. Then comes the detailed description. Then comes brief description of one. In this part, we just write that what are the figures which we have associated and what each of the figure indicate. We do not give a lot of description in this part. And then comes the description, the detailed description. In this, we try to include as much information as possible. We try to give how our invention is going to be implemented, how it is going to be worked, what is the best use of the invention, how is the best method of the invention applied in implementations. So all these aspects we have to mention in as detailed as possible in the detailed description part. Next comes industrial applicability. We might not give this heading in the patent application, but what we have to disclose is objects and advantages of the invention. See, when we get a claim on a patent application, we get claim on technical features. We do not get claim on objects and advantages. Objects and advantages helps us to establish the working of the technical feature. For example, the technical feature of the mobile phone could be a battery. You can get the patent on the battery, but the advancement could be that battery is reducing the space which is normally occupied by the current batteries in the mobile phone. So that advantages we have to mention in the patent application. And then comes the most important part of the patent application, that is the claims. Whatever is written is the claims is the most important, because you'll get legal right only on claims. in examination stage, the examiner is going to examine the claims. Most of the amendments are done in claims, and all the legal protection is only in the claims. So claims are the most important element of the patent invention. It this precisely discloses the scope of the invention. It is the fate deciding part. It has legal connotation because you'll get all the rights on the claims. The examiner will work with the applicant to focus on what are the novel aspects of your patent application, and those novel aspects has to be highlighted in the claims. The claims may be rejected, they may be amended, and they may be allowed, and all the commercialization is going to depend on the claims. So claims are the most important element of the patent application. So now I'll conclude by highlighting few of the common mistakes what people generally do and which must be avoided for like a easy process or for earning money. So yeah, first common mistake is you are not filing your application at an appropriate time. What does that mean is in India we follow, in India or like in major countries we follow first to file system. So if someone else has filed a patent on the same technology even one day before you will lose your right. So filing at an appropriate time is very, very important. Then comes conducting a patentability search. Conducting a patentability search is again important in if you want to minimize your expenses for future, and at the first stage if you want to know whether your invention is patentable or not. Then comes if you are then next mistake is if you're not analyzing the commercial viability of your invention, you'll end up paying so much for prosecution and drafting of the patent application, and if it is not commercially viable it might not be helpful. Then if you're disclosing your invention before filing the application, this is most important mistake which you have to keep in mind, especially if you are a researcher or a professor or an academician, because what you generally do is you publish your papers before filing the patent application, and it simply does not work because in your invention comes in public domain and it itself acts as a prior art for your invention, and then your invention is not new because people already know your invention and you have disclosed it to people. So whenever you want to like consider filing a patent application and you want to publish your document or your research, you have to first file a patent and then proceed with filing, then proceed with publishing your research. That is the most important point that you must keep in mind. Then next mistake comes is filing a defective provisional application. The priority date, we say when we file a provisional application we get a priority date, but that priority date is only for the matter which is disclosed in the provisional application. If you are not disclosing any matter in the provisional application, then you might not get the priority of the work what you are filing in the complete application. So this is again a mistake if you are filing a defective provisional application. And then comes if you are inadequately describing the invention in the complete application. If you're not disclosing how your invention is going to work, if you're not disclosing the enablement of your invention, if you're not writing the claims properly, if you're missing any of the element which we saw in the patent draft, then you may again land up in trouble and spending a lot of money. You may even lose your rights. So it is very important to file complete application in a proper manner. So yeah, these are some common mistakes, and I want you all to keep these common mistakes in mind when you're proceeding with your patent filing. With this, I want to thank you all for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me. If you have any queries, you require any clarification, you have any comments, you can reach me out on LinkedIn or you can email me. My email address and the LinkedIn link is provided. Thank you so much for being here.
I would like to thank Advocate Tricky for the informative session. I hope all our participants must have understood the patent application process, various key points related to the patent filing applications, and I would like to once again thank Advocate Tricky from Atharva ISL team. Thank you for the valuable contribution from your side. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. This is Shrikant Kallurkar, Principal, Atharva College of Engineering. Back to you again. First, I would like to appreciate your interest and the patience that you have shown in attending this 2 days webinar series on startup ecosystem, startup life cycle, and the patenting. I will be planning to discuss about the gist of what we have heard in last 2 days. If you go to the first session, Shri Shailendra Singh Ji, Assistant Director of MSME under Ministry Government of India, posted at Mumbai, he has very clearly highlighted the support services from the MSME, Government of India, to boost the startup ecosystem in the country. He has also enlightened us by new sectors having scope for entrepreneurship. A list of new skill sectors has been discussed, which can definitely give an opportunity as guidelines when one is thinking of business opportunity selection. So at this stage of the entrepreneurship, his views are going to be very useful. He also highlighted the government policies, the preferential schemes to strengthen the MSME entrepreneurs. We are really thankful to you, Mr. Shailendra Singh Ji. Then Dr. Kallurkar in his speech highlighted the history of entrepreneurship in the country and especially the history of technical entrepreneurship. He also discussed about how the Entrepreneurship Development Cell was established as a pilot project by the Department of Science and Technology, NSTDB, at AGGS Institute of Technology. And he discussed with his startup entrepreneur Abhijit Kelkar, who had worked on converting his B project into commercial venture in the year 1992 at AGGS College of Engineering and Technology, Nanded. And the journey from college startup to a full-fledged matured business with product which is unique its kind in the country was discussed. Mr. Abhimanyu Yadav discussed about his entrepreneurial journey of last 3 years, and it highlights how the students are converting their projects into successful entrepreneurship in the present time. On day 2, that's today, Dr. Matthew from Chicago, he highlighted the importance of interdisciplinary research. See, a mechanical engineering graduate working in the field of medical sciences, talking about tissue engineering, nanodrug delivery. So this is the time of seamless engineering and seamless disciplines of education, where comfortably we will be able to walk from one discipline to another, and then only we will be able to develop the innovations of global standards. He also discussed how to convert patent in international scenario. Thank you, Dr. Matthew, sir. Dr. Sanjay Lakde, he first highlighted a failure case, how he received a project from Ministry of Science and Technology, but it could not be converted into a patent. And then he shifted to Sant Shri Gajanand Maharaj Engineering College at Shegao, and his project was a part of their research park, which was also run by one of my students. So it's a case where one student of a professor helping another student. And with this, he could march towards patentable work and he could file a patent based on that. So a proper ecosystem, proper organizational structure makes a difference. Whether you can go for patent or you cannot. Here is a clear example of that. He also mentioned that during his own PhD, he used to work in the industry for 6 to 8 hours per day, and I know that was for almost 2 years. And with this much time of working in the field, trying to understand the different aspects of that industry, he was able to advise the owners of the factory to change the proper layout of the factory, especially in a mechanical assembly type of industry. You can imagine how much work is involved to change the layout, but he could prove to them that yes, by changing the layout, you will be saving a lot of money, you will be able to minimize the throughput time, and because of that, the company changed their layout. The same thing is with Abhijit Kelkar. He mentioned that almost for a long time, he used to work for days together in the lab. So we can find one thing, that if you want to be a successful technical entrepreneur, it's essential that we cultivate the habit of spending maximum time in the labs and in the field work. There is no alternative to this kind of hard work, friends. I'll quote one more example here. During my own PhD research in technical entrepreneurship, I met one plant pathologist. His name is Pandey. And when I went to discuss with him about his case study, which was to validate my findings of research. I had taken about 10 case studies, so this was one of them. So Mr. Pandey said, "Sir, I had to make you to wait for 10 minutes because I was working in the lab." So even after 20 years, unless I work in my lab, I cannot bring successful new products in the market. So this is a unique thing that we will have to keep in mind. There is no substitute to hard work, extra long duration of working in the labs or in the field. Pragya Arora is a unique pathfinder in my opinion. An engineer converted into patent attorney and working as a very successful attorney. She mentioned to us about copyright, patent, trademark, design, trade secret, and what's the difference between all these things. And when we are doing a particular type of research, we can find out in what category the work can be filed under IPR. I was working with one of the researchers some time back. I was one of the mentors of that research. And the researcher came up with an index of hardness of work. It's an industrial engineering application in industry. And she could apply for a copyright. When she got a copyright, before submission of thesis, company like Bharat Forge paid her ₹1 lakh and asked for a permission to use her research for negotiations. So, understanding the difference between copyright, patent, trademark, design, trade secret, and applying appropriately definitely leads to success. in protecting our research. She also mentioned about NUNS, novelty, utility, non-obvious, subject matter eligibility. These are very important parameters one has to keep in mind before we think of intellectual property right for our work. She has also very ably highlighted the procedure to be followed for patenting in India and abroad. Thank you very much, Pragya Madam. And I hope with this now we have some little idea about what is the startup life cycle, how can we convert a project into a startup, and how can we protect our research under the IPR laws. I once again thank you all for patiently attending our 2 days webinar series on startup life cycle and patenting. Thank you very much.
Good evening all. On behalf of Atharva College of Engineering, I Jyoti Kolab, HOD EXTC, take an opportunity to thank all the dignitaries to organize the webinar. Very thankful to our inspiration and ignition, Dr. S.P. Kalurkar Sir, Principal ACE, for his wonderful session.
Distinguished delegates, academicians, colleagues, students, and all participants, a very good evening to one and all. I, Samuel Jacob, Vice Principal Technical, ICEL Coordinator, Atharva College of Engineering, indeed consider it my honor and my privilege to propose this vote of thanks on this 2-day webinar series on Startup Life Cycle and Patent Registration 2020. On behalf of Atharva College of Engineering, ICEL, I would begin by thanking Executive President of Atharva Group of Institutes, Honorable Sri Sunil Rane Sir, for granting us the permission and all necessary support for organizing this webinar series on Startup Life Cycle and Patent Registration 2020. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our distinguished guests for their inputs in their respective domains. Dr. Matthew T. Matthew, Associate Professor, Department of Medical Sciences, University of Illinois at Chicago, United States of America. Dr. Sanjay S. Lakde, Dean R&D, PCCOE, Pune. Advocate Pragya Arora Madam, Founder PA Legal, Tech and IP, IAW, IIT, Kharagpur. Mr. Shailendra Singh Sir, Assistant Director, Ministry of MSME, DI, Mumbai. Mr. Abhijit Kelkar Sir, Cougar Technology, R&D Head, Pune. Mr. Abhimanyu Yadav, CMO, Multiplexer Labs. And Dr. S.P. Kalurkar, Principal at Atharva College of Engineering, for their valuable exchange of information and sharing of fruitful inputs to our participants in this webinar series. I wish to extend my sincere thanks to Director Atharva College of Engineering, Dr. P.N. Nimade Sir, for his constant encouragement and motivational support, and Principal of Atharva College of Engineering, Dr. S.P. Kalurkar Sir, for his constant visionary leadership and guidance in sculpting this webinar. I would like to thank all the Vice Principals and Head of the Departments at Atharva College of Engineering for extending their helping hand and serving as backbones throughout the conduct of this webinar series. Indeed, words fall short in describing the relentless and sincere efforts put forth by the organizing team of ICEL committee, without which this webinar could not have been brought to this huge level of success. A heartfelt thanks to ICEL team. Without the recognition of our associates Atharva IEDC Cell, Atharva IIC and Atharva MSME Cell, we wouldn't have got such a tremendous response. Last but not the least, I highly appreciate the dedication and commitment shown by all of you participants in this tough situation to make and take the best out of this webinar. I'm sure all the participants have gained immensely from the vast knowledge pool that have been shared by our experts in their respective domains, and I hope that all of us will make the best of this opportunity and the best of the knowledge shared in the days to come. All the best to each of us. On a last note, kindly fill the Google feedback form after the session with the correct initials and email ID which you want printed on your certificates. Thank you so much. Stay home. Be safe.